Modern poetry is a literary movement. It's a literary movement that emerged in the late 90s and the mid 20s. Yeah. So, and this poetry emerged as a result of the rapid changing in the world, as a result of urbanization, as a result of technological advancement, as a result of war, and also like crisis of faith and identity. So this modern poetry did not only speak, it shout, like it changed the way poetry can be, and also it changed the way we feel and also write poetry today. So in this video, I'll be mentioning five game-changing poetry, five game-changing modern poetry, and their impact. What are their impact? What was the thing they contributed to the way we see poetry today? So the first number one poetry and the poet, the person that wrote it that was mentioned here is The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. So this Wasteland, mutually, the writing was full of cultural reference, and it's a kind of disillusionment from the post-World War One. Yeah, it's a disillusionment from post-World War One, and the writer writes it based on the experience, what he saw after the World War One, what happened after the World War One, how people felt, and how things were in arrangements after the World War One. So that was what made T.S. Eliot to write this poetry, this poem, The Wasteland. Also, this poem have five segments. Yeah, it have five segments. We have the first one is the burial of the dead, and we also have the second one is a game of chess. Another one is death of water, fire by Simon, and the last one is what the thunder said. Yeah, that was the last one. What the thunder said. So literally, this poet, T.S. Eliot, became a kind of icon in the world of poetry today, yeah, because of his writing of Wasteland. So another modern poet that will be mentioned, and the title of the poem here is W.B. Yeast. Yeah, W.B. Yeast, and the title of the poem he wrote was The Thawar. So W.B. Yeast writing The Thawar. This Thawar is a kind of a poem that make us feel like poem can still hold spiritual and symbolic weight. It's a poem that was a kind of it blended modernist poetry with Irish folklore and personal mysticism. Yeah, and also like make us know through his writing that poem can hold a kind of spiritual meaning and also symbolic meaning. Also, when he was writing, he based his writing into four parts. The first part was the burden of aging. Another part was revisiting the past. Another one was art and morality. The last one was myth and identity. This poet was writing like, oh, the body that came with aging, that is the fear, the grief that came with you getting old, you are no longer young, you could no longer do some things and do some things. Then revisited the childhood. He revisited his youth, like his youthful age, what he was able to do when he was young and agile and have the full strength, and also had a morality, while the last one was myth and identity. So that's another modern poet, and the poem he wrote that become a game changing in modern poetry. So the number three, the modern poetry here that I'll be mentioning is Stephen Wallace. So Stephen Wallace, the popular poem he wrote that made him become a game-changing modern poet was Harmonium. So Stephen Wallace made use of philosophies in his writing, like his writing was embedded with philosophies, and also his poetry became a modern world-changing, game-changing because he was a person that makes us know that poetry do not necessarily have to mean something. Like poetry can be meant to be. Okay, in the process of writing poetry, writing a topic whereby you want to centralize your poem on, you can literally not have a title, just vibe, write things, and it will mean things to people, it will be meaningful, it will have different meaning in the heart of this particular person, in the heart of another person, in the heart of another person, and entirely at the end of the day, it will be sensible, it will like leave a good impact in the life of people. So Stephen Wallace makes us know that poetry do not necessarily have to mean something. Poetry can be meant to be, can be vibe and stay into like pass message across to people. So the number four, game changing modern poetry that I'll be mentioning here is Cantos. Yeah, the Cantos. The Cantos by Ezra. This Cantos is a very long poem. It's an epic. It's a long heroic deed. It's a long heroic poem, and also like it is a kind of allusion and full of human history. This poet Ezra make an attempt to reflect human history and thought in poetry. Yeah, he make an attempt to express human history and thought in poetry. So that's why his poem was a kind of allusion and also historic. And also this cantos, like I said, it's a long heroic deed. It was based on 4 segments. I will list some. We have the whole cantos, we have the Chinese cantos, and we also have the fragments cantos, we have the rock and drill, and we also have economic cantos. Yeah, it's 7 segments. I think I was able to mention 5 segments. Yeah, it's a kind of 7 segment because it's a very long poem. When I saw the poem was so long and lengthy, and the poem was a kind of cultural memory. Yeah, it's a kind of cultural memory, cultural reference. So the last game-changing modern poetry that I'll be mentioning here is The Sea Garden. The Sea Garden by who? The Sea Garden by Hilda Doolittle. Hilda Doolittle was one of the first prominent feminist writer, modern feminist poetry. She wrote Sea Garden, and this Sea Garden is feminine in nature, and also I have a kind of lyrical edge. It's a poem that was talking to us that human exists, and human exists as a soul and as a creator, and that human we are kind of embedded with beauty and pain reflected in us. And if we should look vividly into this poem, definitely, yeah, women are embedded with beauty and pains. Let's take, for example, menstrual cycle. It doesn't come to some women as something that is easy, and also this pregnancy. So it's something that is embedded with pain, and if we see the end result of all these things, pregnancy leads to child, which is something beautiful and something good. So she was a prominent feminist writer. So these are the 5 game-changing modern poetry compared to the contemporary poetry. What we have now is the contemporary poetry. So what are the impact of this poetry on English literature? We have number one is it brought new faces and perspective to poetry, which now led to the contemporary poetry. And also this modern poetry is a poetry that also laid the foundation for contemporary poetry that we now have today. Lay the foundation, make people know what poetry was all about and what they can write about, what is not all about, the styles of writing, how they feel when they write, and like the styles and natures and how you can write and become a very good poet. The last impact of this modern poetry on English literature is a kind of redefinement. It redefined what poetry means, like it changes what poetry means. It changes poetry from ornament to role, and also from structure to spirit, like spirit, yeah. So those are the impacts that the modern poetry have on the English literature that we see today. So that is the end of this video. And so far, I've mentioned the 5 game-changing modern poetry. And first one I said was The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. And we also have Harmonium by Stephen Wallace. And we also have Sea Garden by Hilda Doolittle. And we also have The Cantos by Ezra. And we also have the last one, which was The Tower by W.B. Yeast. So these are the 5 game-changing modern poetry that laid foundation for the contemporary poetry today. So let me know in the comment section which of these poets you've heard of before. Although there are other modern poets and poetry, but these are the prominent 5 modern poem and poetry that like serve as a game changing to the contemporary poetry that we have today. So let me know in the comment section which of these modern poetry have you like read their poems before? What can you say about them? What do you know about them? And so I'm going to see you in my next video. Till then, take care of you. Please don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share my videos with your friends. Take care of you. Bye. Where's the first one? So personal mysticism. It was he make an attempt, like he make an attempt of the menstrual year is, yeah, okay. TS, uh, no, don't let me do it like that. So, no, okay, it's Steven. No, let me say it. So far, I. Would you ever picture